Hello and welcome to another episode of the Comicsly podcast, the official podcast of Comicsly.com. Thank you for joining us today. You are listening to episode number 29. On this episode, Angela and I are going to be talking about Community Season 1. We refer to it as Part 2, but specifically today we are going to be talking about episodes 13 through 25, and you may be sort of wondering, well, where is the one where they talk about episodes 1 through 12? And we did record that podcast, but there were so many issues with the audio that I didn't hear while we were recording it, but showed up later, that the audio was kind of unusable and just couldn't really be edited into something that would sound halfway decent. And so I didn't want to put that on the feed. It's a shame, it's not something we're going to re-record. And we're going to go through all the seasons of Community, breaking the longer seasons into two parts, and then we'll tackle the shorter seasons in one part. So we'll cover the whole thing, but we will not have that first episode. I think it's okay. I think we sort of give some context for what that discussion was, or the discussion that we had about those first episodes. We give some context for that in this episode. So I don't think you're not going to be lost without it. Again, shame that it's not here, but again, that audio was unusable, and I didn't want to put something that sounded really bad on the feed. So we're going to jump into Community, talking about the second half of season 1. Again, this is a project that's going to go for a little bit. Community, one of the things that Angela and I have bonded over the years. So we're really excited to re-watch all of it again together and talk about it and put up those podcasts for you. So please enjoy part 1 of our conversation, which is really part 2, because that first episode is lost to time, but we'll be okay without it. Again, we're going to be talking about Community Season 1, episodes 13 through 25, episodes 13 through 25. Hope you enjoy.
How about we start with hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, I say hello at the beginning of the episodes. I always do a little intro.
You do?
Yeah.
I should listen to them.
Yeah, there's always I talk about it because I have the music, and then I talk for 2 minutes, and then the episodes. Then there's a short pause, and then the episode starts.
Oh, is it bad that I don't know that?
No, it's fine. I mean, I thought you would have assumed that. That's how most podcasts work. Because we always forget to say what we're talking about for 3 minutes. So I always have to put it up top, because it's otherwise no one's going to know.
All right. That's not how the podcast I listen to start.
We could start doing it live. That would mean less work for me. That would make a lot less work, because then I don't.
Maybe you get the episodes out faster.
Yes. Banter. I don't really know. I mean, so I have those I have these 3 episodes here, 13, 21, and 23. I think when you, I don't know if you've ever looked at lists of best episodes, but the contemporary American poultry generally makes it in there just because of how unique it is. And then Modern Warfare makes it in there because it's the first paintball episode.
It's the first paintball episode?
Yeah, because I mean, they only do 3 of them, I think, right? They do one at the end of season 1, one at the end of season. They do 2. They do a 2-parter at the end of season 2, I think, and then they do another one at the end of season 3. But this is the first, this is the first time that it shows up. We could start talking about those ones, just because I think they kind of they're good episodes. I also think they're sort of exemplative of some things that the show does really well, but also some things I didn't love that so much watching it this time, or paying a little bit closer attention. But we could just talk about favorite episodes in general. If you have any favorite moments, any themes that you felt like you saw sort of developing in the second half of the season, or anything you noticed.
This was more romantic, with the weird love triangle. Or I think this was the start of it, with Jeff and Bretta and Annie. Yeah. Towards the end.
Yeah.
Not really a fan of it.
Yeah, no, okay. So that was kind of the big one that I was thinking of, was I forgot how much the second half of this season relies on that love triangle. Mm-hmm. I guess there's Jeff, Britta, and Annie, but then there's also Jeff and Professor Slater as well. just how much like relationship drama is sort of the driving plot force, right? The driving sort of plot motivation behind so many of these episodes. I guess I remember that those episodes were there, right? I remember Professor Slater. I remember that like there's this choice at the end of season 1, which will take us into the beginning of season 2. But it didn't like, I think maybe I didn't know like they all happened in like inside of these 12 episodes, right? Because I usually am just jumping around when I'm watching them. So I don't always have the continuity, but it is kind of weird to see that all like concentrated inside of this group of episodes. I don't know. Did it make you like feel any way about this, like change your opinion on the season as a whole? Or like, I guess why do you feel like it hadn't stood out to you before?
Because they ended up not being so relevant in like the coming seasons that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that this was like a direction that it started to go into.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I mean, we talked about in that first episode, we talked about it a little bit. Like there is some like will they, won't they, right? The first episode sort of starts with that very much.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's sort of this thing on Jeff and Annie, but like it doesn't lean on that nearly as hard as the second half of the season does.
Yeah.
Were there any episodes in here that you were like, I really like this episode, and then you watched it and you was like, oh, I forgot that this was like this like relationship plot was like so integral to it, and like it changed how you felt about that episode as a whole? Or was it just, you're just going to be glad to sort of see it move into the background in the coming seasons?
Probably the last one.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just like stupid to me.
Yeah.
Because like that was when Britta and the Professor Slater were like both trying to like get Jeff or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then like that's like the whole thing. And then at the end, Jeff and Annie kiss, and it's just like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just looking, I'm sort of like running through the list of episodes right now. And even just like the one where romantic expressions, right? Where Pierce hangs out with Abed and Troy and Shirley and Chang, like in the dorm room, right? But like the other half of the episode is Britta and Jeff sort of trying to break up Annie and Vaughn. I think I forgot about that because I love the scenes of them like sitting around in the door room, and Pierce. I really like it when Pierce has like prepared for the movie, and he's like rattling off the jokes. I think Troy says something like, you're like telling jokes at with the speed and the intensity of the incomparable Robin Williams, and it's just like it's so funny. Or even that one when he's sitting around with his writers, and it's like, I think they're looking like it's a good day to be, and then they're like trying to find a punchline.
Yeah.
And the one writer's like, it's a good day to be, I think they say it's a good day to be gay, which is horrible, but Pierce thinks it's like the funniest thing ever. And the writer like leans over and is like, he likes those types of jokes. Yeah. But like, there's that one. Even like, even like something like an episode like The Art of Discourse is, maybe we should talk about that one, because that one I have like feelings about that one watching it this time. Yeah, that's probably a separate conversation. I don't know. Are there any other like, I'm trying to think if there's any other like episodes, or if there's another episode that I thought like, well, it's just kind of like in there, right? And like I've seen that episode a bunch of times, and I just kind of like forget that it's a part of it. Oh, I think the one that sort of maybe a little bit is Physical Education, where
gym teachers.
Yeah, the gym teacher, right? Jeff has to play pool, but the teacher makes him play pool in shorts, and he doesn't want to do it because he looks bad.
Yeah.
But even in the background of that episode is like they're trying to set Abed up with a relationship, right? They're trying to set him up with Jenny. And like that's hilarious because it ends up being a guy who looks exactly like Abed, and then the joke at the end is Abed the brown Joey, or is Joey the white Abed? is very good the way that one comes off. And then the Slater stuff is sort of running in the background throughout a couple episodes, right? Which always is gonna like, I guess it's not gonna come out. I'm just trying to remember based on the synopses, but like Britta's always sort of like, there always is like, Shirley's like, oh, are you okay with this, right? Or Britta's always a little bit like jealous or something, right? So even if it's not like a whole arc or something, it's just sort of in the background in a bunch of these episodes, and like it's fine, right? But I don't think that's like where the show thrives, is on that type of comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It does better, I think, when you see in an episode like Physical Education, where it can like poke fun at that type of thing, right? Where Abed is, right, he says something really insightful at the end of that one, right?
Oh, I like that too, yeah. He's like, when you know what you like about yourself, it's like not a big deal to change for others.
Yeah, right, which is like a really like beautiful like thing to like say, and like to actually be in that place, right? So I think that episode's a really good example actually of like, instead of just like doing relationship stuff, right, like do the community thing where you like poke fun at it, right? Where Abed's like being a weird vampire and doesn't, or he's like Don Draper and Annie's getting all confused, right? And then you can sort of unpack, right? Like what is actually going on when we're like forcing two characters on a sitcom to like be with each other. That's like where community, that's where it thrives. And I think we see a good example of it doing relationship stuff well there. And it just, I don't know, at least I think it sounds like for both of us, the rest of it just kind of misses a little bit in these episodes. All right. Did you, I don't know, that was the big theme that stood out for me. Was there anything else that came up or that you were thinking of? I mean, you brought that up initially too, so you don't want to take credit for that one.
Yeah, don't take credit for my thing. Rude. I'm looking through them. I really like, I don't know. I really did not like the pottery one.
Okay. All right. That was what I want to talk a little bit about or tell me why, I guess.
Because it's just like the whole like I get it. Like Jeff is like a very insecure person. Like I feel like that's always just like it's like knowledge. We don't need like a whole episode.
Yeah.
About it. But I get that I'm thinking there's like a bunch of episodes like that where it's just like Jeff against like Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, there's another one in this group of episodes, right? The one where with the little kids, right? The Art of Discourse, right? When he has to deal with the high schoolers who are sort of roasting him for being a grown person, happy about getting a B on his like health course or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's something I didn't think about, but they're going to come back to that like a few times, right? There's like a Thanksgiving episode in future seasons. There's the one where, and I actually kind of like this episode, but the one where you sort of figure out that him and Shirley like kind of knew each other.
Yeah, with the foosball.
Yeah, with the foosball. So it is interesting to see though, I don't know, right? They made 100 episodes of TV, right? So they're going to go back to like the same well a bunch, but they really do hit that like that Jeff has a lot of insecurities that stem from a childhood that was, I don't know, maybe less than supportive or whatever. I don't know exactly, but they're going to go back to that well a lot. Was that the only thing you didn't like about it, or did you?
I just thought it was like silly, I guess. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like particularly funny, I guess, right? It's almost like
it's just like him just like being like a whiny baby, and it's just like, this isn't entertaining.
Yeah. It kind of gets into like, because he's kind of on his own a little bit, right? Like Abed and Annie are in that pottery class with him, but he's kind of on his own in terms of like, I think like it's the flashbacks, and I think he does some like narration of it, right? And he's kind of like going down this weird rabbit hole where he is convinced that the other guy in the class who's really good at pottery is like a pottery ringer that was like brought in to make everyone else look bad. And yeah, he's kind of on his own with like the sort of going a little bit over the top. And yeah, I think you're right. It leans a little bit more into that like whiny and isn't balanced very well, right? I think it isn't like balanced well by like interactions with the other characters a ton in those specific scenes. Yeah, I didn't love that one. I guess this may be a good idea to talk about the or not the physical education one, but the art of discourse one. So this is like, when I think about my least favorite episodes of Community, this is probably one of them, just because, I don't know, I think like I don't like the sort of way that it, now I sort of see the thematic, or like the sort of the thematic importance of this episode, but like I guess I always didn't like it because of how it just like reduced Britta and Jeff just to like kind of like stammering idiots, right? Which is where the episode kind of ends up, with them just like making noises at teenagers in a like packed cafeteria that is, you know, kind of disgusted with them. I don't know. I like, what did you think about this episode?
Yeah, because it was kind of just like, what like growth was supposed to be happening here.
Yeah. And I guess I think not, like, I don't know if I still don't think I like this episode. Because I like, I don't think I like it for different reasons now, but I think the point of this episode probably is to actually tear Jeff and Britta down, right? Because they actually are like the most insecure and the most childish members of the group, right? Like Jeff has this certain like power in that group dynamic, but like not because he like has deserved it,
right?
But because he's at a different stage of his life that they all kind of respect. And we'll sort of see episodes where that sort of breaks down more and more. And I think this is one of those episodes, right? Where that like, you don't have to, just because you're a certain age and you've like done certain things doesn't make you any wiser or give you any more knowledge about anything, right? And so I think it's like important in the sense that it does sort of break them down quite a bit. But like, I think you're right. I think I don't like it because of like, there is no growth, right? And I think we'd like, part of the beauty about Community most of the time, right? Even if Jeff's speeches are like bullshit, right? It is nice to think like, oh, there was some progress or something like learned along the way. And that just like isn't present in this episode at all, right? It ends in like a big food fight and with, Jeff and Britta embarrassed and everything. I don't know. It definitely hits different though when like you're closer to like Jeff and Britta's age and not closer to like the teenager's age. And it's like, you know, I'm like, it's like, you know what, Jeff, good job. I'm glad that you got a B on that thing if that's the best you could do. And like, you didn't deserve to be ridiculed for that, but like, you shouldn't have reacted that way either. So that one totally hits different now. But yeah, I don't know why I like cringe inside when I think about like someone, like I've never been in that situation, but like when you can't even like talk with someone because they're doing that thing where they don't want to talk to you. They just want to make you upset. So they're repeating everything you say or doing something equally as annoying. Like it just makes me cringe inside being in that situation, which maybe means that they hit on something like really relevant, but yeah. Any other episodes or moments worth?
Let's talk about the chicken nugget one. Or chicken tender one.
All right. So I don't know. What do you think about this episode? What are your thoughts about it?
I really liked it. I've never like seen, based off of what Godfather or whatever, I've never seen it, but I have at the moment. Well, at that time that I was watching it, I was really into reading really bad mafia stories on Wattpad.
Oh, okay.
And sharing them with my friends. So I think it was really funny because I was like already in like the mafia gangster type phase.
Okay.
So I just like very much enjoyed it, and I also kind of I just really liked the way that like how Abed was like narrating it. I just liked how like straightforward it was.
Yeah, I think I like this episode a lot. I think it like they're gonna base other episodes around sort of like themes, right? You know, thinking about like the Dungeons and Dragons episodes or something like that, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna sort of have these other episodes, or even I And I don't know if this is in season 2, right? The one where you get the it's not the evil, the darkest timeline, right? Where they're throwing the dice.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they're going to have other episodes that are like super concept focused like this. And some ones that I like more, but I think it shows, right? And again, we talked about this a lot when we talked about the first half of the season, right? It, like how this show just like it was all there like so quickly, right? Like they could like do this episode in season 1 where they're breaking down how mafia and gangster movies work. They're creating a story inside 22 minutes that incorporates everything, right? That just tells that story super efficiently, right? The way it starts where there's like a problem, how they solve that problem to, right? They get Starburns. They get Starburns out, right? He's not frying the chicken anymore. Abed is in. The way like everyone instantly has a role, right? And it makes sense, right? Like Pierce is the guy sort of paying everyone off. Shirley is to like her like religious beliefs prevent her from sort of being like, she'll go along but prevent her from like being dishonest when she's like processing the chicken. The way that Annie is sort of like the sort of facilitator, sort of moving things around. It's not even just that they like took a concept and ran with it, but that they took a concept, figured out what how all of their existing characters like fit perfectly into that concept, and then told like a really efficient, funny, interesting story that also like moved the characters forward a little bit, right? Like we learn a little bit about Shirley, right? She's like gone through this divorce, right? And so the thing that she wants out of this is like she wants the guy with the dreadlocks to notice her, right? She wants sexy dreadlocks to notice her, right? Or how like Britta, when she has the opportunity, her vanity comes out, right? Or the way that sort of Jeff becomes a little bit lost when he doesn't immediately have something to do, right? Or like ultimately, right? How Abed uses TV tropes and TV narratives to relate to people, right? Because ultimately this is like an Abed story. So like it's super brilliant the way it can incorporate all of those things like in such a tight episode. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Like again, not my favorite, but like I can like I don't know, I can recognize like wow, that's like an amazing piece of TV creation, right? That they did all of that in like 22 minutes is pretty remarkable. When were you like reading mafia stories?
It's like really
on Wattpad?
embarrassing, and I'm kind of debating asking you to delete that part. But like, so basically, I was on TikTok. I was on like people making fun of things that people write on Wattpad, and I kept on seeing them, and I was like, I gotta see what this is about because I kept on seeing the TikToks, and then like I just like went down a rabbit hole because they're so poorly written, and it's just like everything about them is just like bad, but like. It's just like I needed to read all of them.
Is there a different... Do you know what AO3 is?
Yeah.
Is there like a difference in quality between Wattpad and AO3?
TikTok says so. I've never read anything from AO3. Okay. Also, like for the record, you can keep this in, but I don't read those anymore. I deleted the app. It's an embarrassing part of my history that we don't need to talk about.
I don't think you should be embarrassed. There's no sort of like rating thing like, oh, this one's good or this one's not good. They don't do any of that.
There are. Yeah, you can like vote or whatever. But like, I don't know. It's just like, even if something's really popular, it's still pretty bad. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. I like that. I like that you had the like, but that is like, it's, even though it might be embarrassing, I don't think you should be embarrassed, but like it does. I'm glad you like, it's good to have a little bit of context, right? For like having the what a gangster or mafia story is, right? You know, wins and losses.
And now like, I'm pretty sure I could like join the mafia and be fine.
Who would you be in the operation?
I would be not like the top guy, but the second to top guy, because like in the stories they're usually pretty trustworthy. They're like got you back, and they're like there for comedic relief.
They might be the first one to fall though, because if the top guy doesn't want to fall, you might go to the second guy and be like, "Hey, you got to take a hit for me." Like,
but that doesn't happen in Wattpad books. So.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen in real life, because I'm pretty sure that Wattpad mafia stories are really, really accurate.
I'm the most, I imagine.
The most.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the Jack Black episode 13, the first one after the Christmas episode. So like the first half of this second season. It's called Investigative Journalism, and Jack Black is a guest star. We don't get a ton of guest stars throughout the whole run. We'll get like a few. This, I think, there's only one other guest star that sort of sticks out in my mind. We'll talk about their episode when we come to that one. But what do you think? What did you think about this episode? Is this even an episode that sticks out to you?
Only because Jack Black is in it. It was kind of funny. I liked how like they all thought that they were all like the shit, and then Buddy was like, "Nah, man, you just like were the safety study group." And I thought that was really funny. I liked how they were all humbled.
That's very good, right? Because then Owen Wilson and Star Burns and some other person we'll never see again walk in and like, "Buddy, you're in," and he runs off. It's very good. Are you a generally Jack Black fan or not?
I mean, I like Kung Fu Panda. I think he's kind of like a token funny guy, which makes it not so funny, you know? Because like you can always like count on him to like, I don't know, like be just like the funny guy or like do something like physical, like funnier. And it's just like, okay.
Have you ever seen School of Rock?
No.
That's sort of, he's been in other stuff, but like that's sort of, in my head at least, like the perfect Jack Black movie. Do you know what that movie is about?
Nope.
Oh, you should. I think you would like it. He's in a band and his band kicks him out because he does too many guitar solos. They get really annoyed and they kick him out because he does too many guitar solos. So he has a roommate, and the roommate's girlfriend is like, because Jack Black's a deadbeat, right? He doesn't pay his rent and he mooches off his roommate. And so the roommate can't stick up for himself. So the girlfriend's like, if you don't get a job and like pay the rent this month, we're kicking you out of the apartment, right? So he says everything's kind of about to fall apart. And his roommate is a substitute teacher, and he's at home one day and a call comes in, and he pretends to be his roommate, picks up this substitute teaching job, you know, even though he's not a teacher, and turns, instead of like doing what you're supposed to do as a teacher, like spends all day turning them into a rock band. It's a pretty funny movie. Like it's got a really good, the kids in it are really good. Who's iCarly? Who is that?
Miranda Cosgrove.
Yes. It's a very young, I don't know how young. I don't know. They're supposed to be like 6th, 7th grade. So I don't know, what are you, like 11 or 12? But it's Miranda Cosgrove is sort of the lead kid. And she's very good in it. Jack Black. I think Sarah Silverman's in it. I don't know. I have a lot of love from him from that movie, but I love, I don't know. There's like so many things. I love how he is, when they first, like right at the beginning of the episode, he's like, "Yeah, don't you remember I was there for all of these episodes?" And then he's like the back of all of these, right? They just like made up, like he's in the back when Pierce and Jeff did that bad Spanish presentation. Yeah. He was in the background when he was in their Spanish class. He was in the background when Britta cheated on the test. So I don't know. I like how they are already sort of like playing with the mythology of the show, right? These sort of like big moments that like these big ridiculous moments that like would stand out if you were actually in that class, right? They can sort of draw on those. But I think it's also interesting because I don't know, like, do you feel like he fits in with the rest of the cast, or do you feel like he's kind of doing his own thing?
I think he would have fit in if they let him join the group.
I think that's the thing that kind of I love about it, is like he feels like he fits pretty naturally, right? Like, obviously they all like hate him because he's like pretty extra, but like I don't know, just the way he like plays off everyone else, like if he was actually going to become a cast member, I feel like he would have been perfect. And I like how he can like come in for one episode and already sort of play with the things that are like going on in the episode, right? The way he sort of challenges Jeff a little bit and identifies Jeff as the leader. The way he he sings that like weird song about like Annie's body or whatever, right? And he's already sort of, right? The show's already like a little bit weird with that. And so like this guy
and Jeff's like, we don't really do that.
Yeah, he like leans over, he's like, Annie's pretty young, we try not to sexualize her, right? And like right, so they, you know, they can bring a character in and already sort of have this meta commentary about what the show does like with another character in the group.
Yeah,
the way he's like, what this group, right? Because this, you know, the dean like comments on it, right, about how like, you know, you have like you know, like a black woman and like an old person and like, you know, a Jewish person and like a white guy and a Muslim guy, right? You have like all this diversity, right? The dean will commentate on it a bunch of times. And then I love how Jack Black is like, you need, what does he say? You need like a chubby, agile guy, right? That's his role in the group. I think that's when he does the high kick and kicks Jeff in the face. Yeah, right. So like, yeah, how, I don't know. I love that, how he feels like he fits right in and like is, I don't know. Yeah, I love that episode for that, how it works so seamlessly. Yeah, and then he has, like you said, he has this great send off where he ditches them for Starburns and Owen Wilson. All right, so we talked about, I think that's probably, I don't know, any other episodes you feel like we need to touch on at all?
Let me take a look. I remember liking interpretive dance more than I did the second time around.
Okay. Do you have a reason why, or what were you was sort of not vibing with this time?
Like the dancing, I think the Brett and Troy, because like I think that was, it's like I'm getting it like mixed up in my brain. They don't really like talk much before that, right?
No, it's sort of interesting to like when we get to later seasons and they do have a thing, right? Like, I don't know where the seeds planted, but this is like the only time where I think all season where there's like a sort of Britta Troy plot that doesn't I think that's the only, I guess they sort of, for basic genealogy, when Britta is obsessed with Troy's grandmother, I guess they sort of have a little thing there.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just the dancing part you weren't super into, or? I
don't know. I just like, I think because it's like knowing what was coming for them later, I was like, this is weird.
Okay. All right. I can totally see that. Yeah. Okay. I think my favorite part of that episode, because that's also like the Jeff and Slater episode, right? Where they first get together, or where the group first learns about it. But I love at the end of that episode how Britta's like, or Abed's like, I wish I could dance like that. And Britta's like, if you practice really hard. And then Abed goes up onto the stage and just like totally nails it.
Kills it. Yeah.
That song is really good too. I think that song is called, I went and downloaded that song, or I have it now. It's by Kate Nash. It's called Merry Happy. If the song that plays at the end of Interpretive Dance. It's a great song. I did like, I do like basic genealogy, actually, now that I think about it. I actually don't care so much about the Pierce. Pierce is kind of the main plot, that his daughter shows up and then Jeff is kind of hitting on his daughter, but she's grifting Pierce, right? I actually think the Britta Troy stuff is way funnier, right?
Yeah.
How Britta disrespects his grandmother, and then his grandmother wants Troy to get a switch so she can whoop Britta, and Britta's like,
yep, that's fine with me.
Britta goes through with it. The scene when Britta's she's sort of whooping Britta, and Britta's on her lap, she's like hitting her, Troy is like crying. And then I think Jeff and Pierce's daughter like walk in on this this ridiculous scene. I was watching it, and Darianne like walked past like as that scene was going on, and I was dying, and she was like, what are you even watching right now? Because it's just like, it's just utter nonsense. Like, if you don't know it's just utter nonsense. Yeah. I like the Abed and Shirley moment in that one too, when
because they like and this kids like help his cousin out or something.
I like how they never like shy away from Abed being Muslim, or like putting his dad on screen when it makes sense, or like I don't know, even having his cousin who's like wearing a full burqa. Like I don't know if I've ever really seen that like in another comedy show, right? And it's not like scary, and they're not like making fun of it, and it's not like othered in any way. It's just like, that's my sister and that's what she wears, right? It's very normalized in a way that I think is like really cool, right? And then like, you know, the way it also sort of, you know, kind of makes us like reconsider, right? Like, you know, as a person who deals with kids all day, right? Like just because a kid is like being hyperactive and like, you know, a little bit and you just want them to sit in their seat, right? Doesn't mean they're bad kids. And I really like how they kind of like help Abed's sister, or I think it's his cousin Abra, out in that moment, right? So she can like go in the bouncy house. I think that's really sweet. We'll end the episode on like favorite moments, I think. But I have two things. I think I have two things before that. Is there is one thing, you know, just sort of thinking about the season as a whole, is like, we don't get a lot of the Dean. I don't know. Did you feel like we got a lot of him? I feel like he's going to be in my head, like he's like a very constant presence in the show. And I guess I just, watching season 1, was like, oh, he's really not like part of this dynamic yet. I don't know. What did you think about that?
Yeah, he doesn't really get like brought into it, I think, till later.
Yeah, he just starts like, some of his like weirdness and quirks start to show up right at the end with the Dalmatians, right? He brings the 2 Dalmatians to the dance. Yeah, right. I don't know, like, because when you think about Community like as a whole, like, do you feel like the Dean is part of like your favorite moments or your favorite episodes, or what you like about the show?
Oh yeah. Especially like when they like go save the Dean in like the other episodes. Yeah.
Okay. Me too. And so it's like, oh, he's gonna like turn into the Dean that I remember, right? Because that's just not there in season 1. And then the other thing is like, well, so related to that is like, there's not really a lot of side characters yet, right? We get like Starburns a little bit, we get Leonard a little bit, but like, right, there's no Magnitude yet. There's no, who else? Who's Garrett? Is it Garrett, the one who with the glasses?
Oh, yeah. Or Neil.
We don't get Neil yet, right? So like,
you were about to say Fat Neil.
I catch myself. He's Neil to us. That is like all coming, and I guess this kind of goes to maybe like what we're looking forward to. But like all of that is coming, and then in my head, and you know, again, this is just like remembering it wrong. I thought this was the season that, who's the British guy? John, I thought he was like in season 1, and then he fades out in season 2, but he's not really in this season that much either. He's in like the first couple episodes, and then he's in an episode right at the end. But like, I don't know, because he's going to show up more, right? Then he goes away again.
Yeah.
And then he
kind of goes away.
Does
then
he come back at the end, or I'm not sure. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
but,
no.
Yeah, he's not really in this season. I guess I thought he was a part of season 1, but maybe he's more in season 2, and then he goes away. But yeah, like something we have to look forward to is like those side characters getting a lot more developed and like playing a bigger role, which is going to be great. Chang kind of takes his turn, right, where he is not going to be senior Chang anymore. He's just going to be Ben, right? It's Ben Chang.
Student Chang.
Right, because we figured out that he is a fake English teacher, a fake Spanish teacher. And he learned everything he knows from Sesame Street, right? I think it's Sesame Street. So we have that to look forward to in future seasons, right? Chang's gonna become even like a bigger part of it, sort of a little bit of an antagonist for the group almost, which is going to be, he already is, I suppose, but that's going to sort of take an interesting turn, which is going to be cool. I guess let's talk a little bit about that final episode. What did you think about that last episode? Which, do you want to tell us a little bit sort of what goes on in that, and then your thoughts?
The final episode is Pascal's Triangle Revisited, right? Yeah, so like there's like the dude that's like the rich guy that's like wants to come to school. No. Sorry, that's the other one, right?
I can set up. So this is the one, right? Annie's gonna leave. Her and Vaughn, she's like really into him. She's gonna be a hacky sack player at a school in Delaware, so Annie's gonna leave. Slater approaches Jeff and says she wants to get back together, and Britta sort of decides that she wants to be with Jeff. We're not really sure if it's like jealousy, if she's just like jealous and responding to Slater, or if this is actually the way she feels. But at the dance, right, there's this sort of end of year dance. Slater tells Jeff that she loves him, like, pick me. Britta tells Jeff, I love you, pick me. And then Jeff leaves. Annie has decided that she's not going to leave, that she came back. Her and Jeff end up kissing. And then it kind of leaves it hanging, right? Jeff hasn't like picked anyone. No one, but they don't know that he picked Annie. Yeah, it sort of leaves like the relationship between those 3 or 4 characters hanging. Do you have any thoughts on that one about like as a way to like end the season, right?
I think that the way that the season ended and like that kind of took away from like all the other good parts of it to just like reduce like the final moments of the season to like, ooh, who's Jeff gonna pick? And it was like a romance thing versus like everything else, I guess.
And again, they're gonna start season 2 sort of. They're gonna pick this up in season 2. They don't just drop it, but it is like turning the show into something that it's not, right? Like that isn't. We discussed earlier in the episode, like that is the show doesn't thrive on that sort of relationship drama. And so I think it does sort of like if you were watching this in real time and you were like, oh, I really like the whole season, but it ended in this really weird way, right? And then you have to wait all summer, right? Because it ends, in like April or May, and then it doesn't come back until like September, October. You got to like wait all summer. But like, are you actually interested in sort of like what it left you with at the end? I don't know. Like that didn't happen for me because I think I like caught up on the first season and like came in on season 2, but like I could totally see that like it would leave a bad taste in your mouth the way that it ends focused on this relationship drama when this really strong season has been done so many other things really, really well. And I mean, I guess we'll talk about it when we talk about the season 2, but like it's gonna drop, like it's gonna spend 1 episode on it and then it's kind of over. And then it just so
and then it never existed.
So it's kind of disappointing in like where it's also gonna end up, but we'll talk about that when we get to season 2 in a few weeks. Let's talk any favorite moments, right? What are some of the funniest things you liked just from this second half of season 1?
Basically any interaction between Troy and Abed. Like the one where they get trapped in the vending machine.
I think I forget which episode, but one of the little like Troy and Abed bits at the end, I think they're doing like Bert and Ernie. And then Troy checks his watch and he has like a funeral and he gets all mad. He's like, I knew I couldn't do this today. That one's very good. I like how Chang is a guitar player and he's when he's telling Jeff about his band, like they would have been huge, but the world wasn't ready for an Asian guitar player. That's very good. Oh, another Chang one in the one with the families, the basic genealogy episode, you see Chang's brother, who's a rabbi, and Rabbi Chang is giving Ben, like, he's giving him shit for being a Spanish teacher. That's pretty funny because he's like, because Chang's kind of like, well, why are you a rabbi, right? That's good.
I liked when Troy and Pierce, for the Valentine's Day one, they like embarrassed they didn't get anything and they set themselves up, and then Senior Chang was like just called them out on it.
Yeah, that's very good. I still cringe when he makes them dance, when they have to put those pantsuits on and dance, and Troy's like just like grinding on Chang. I still like, geez, I don't know if like is the pain on his face real because he didn't want to actually do that, or is that just really good acting? I'm not sure. I mentioned the one where Abed's dancing at the end of Interpretive Dance. I really like that. Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, this is gonna set up a this is going to set up a good episode later on, but Troy's monkey named Annie's boobs and how upset she gets, but then the monkey goes missing, which will come back later, which is going to be great, but the monkey's going to disappear for a second. Yeah, I think that's probably, I feel like I had all of these ones I wanted to mention and now I'm forgetting them, or we mentioned them all. The white Abed Brown Joey is very funny in that episode.
Yeah.
That plays very good at the end. I should have looked into how they made that. I don't know if that's like, if that is Abed or if they just found another person who looks a lot like Abed. I'm not sure what they did there, but it's very funny because they look really, really similar. Yeah, any more, Ange?
I can't think of any.
There'll be plenty more in season 2 to plenty more things. So we'll be able to mention those ones then. All right, anything else to say or go to the second half of the show?
Go to the second half of the show.
All right, we will be back after a short break.
All right, we're back. So, all right, let's start with Reservation Dogs.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it.
So we're back with our one-shots. Ange and I both have like the same, we both have the same one-shots this week, so we'll both be talking about them. We both watched Reservation Dogs over the last week, and it's a show on FX, but I think it's specifically FX on Hulu. I don't think you can get it on like the over-the-air FX channel, but it's a show about 4 kids who live on a Indian reservation in Oklahoma who want to leave, right? Or at least at the beginning of the season, they think they want to leave. They think they want to go to California, so they're trying to earn enough money to be able to drive. One of them they're going to take her grandma's car and they're going to drive to California. And that's sort of the setup for the show. And yeah, right, like it's right, that's sort of like where we start, but that is and a little bit where we end. It's where we start and where we end, but like everything in the middle, like the middle is goes everywhere else, right? And I don't know, I think that's kind of why I love it, right? If the show was really about them trying to earn money to go to California, like I think that would have been a much less interesting show. I don't know, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it probably wouldn't have went. I liked how because it was only 8 episodes, right?
Yeah, it's 8 episodes and they're only 30 minutes.
Yeah, I kind of liked how it was set up, whereas like you got sort of with each character. Yeah, I really liked my favorite episode. I think was probably the one with Willie Jack. I thought that was
Yeah, so it's Bear, Cheese, Willie Jack, and Alora. Yeah, I think the beauty of each episode, right, is you spend time. Every single character, you get time sort of in an episode devoted to them, but just even then in other episodes, like they figured out a way to like give them moments or scenes throughout for all the characters, and not even just those 4, right? Like other people in the community, to give them time. So like by the time you get to the end and there's sort of this like come together moment, and then there's this speech at the end, and you kind of know who everyone is at that moment. Mm-hmm. And like how they managed to do that in 30 minutes an episode, again, 8 episodes, and also make it like, it's not always funny, but like there's some really funny stuff in here. Like how they managed to do that is just like a really sort of amazing feat of TV writing. The Willie Jack episode is amazing. I also really like the episode with Cheese and Big when he goes out on. Big is the sort of tribal cop who people take varying levels of seriously, and Cheese is doing a ride along with him, right? And there's sort of, there's like a pile of shrimp that fish heads that like showed up in a field, right? And they're all these weird little copper sculptures that show up in town, so they're looking at who did that, right? So they go talk to the people running this. It's not a junkyard, right? It's a salvage something, I don't know. The guy who runs the junkyard gets mad when you call it junk because it has a negative connotation. And he talks to them about string theory, and yeah, right? So even through that episode, right, you know who like Cheese is, and when you also like you start to figure out who Big is, right? Because he's having these you're seeing these flashbacks of his from when he was a little kid, and you understand why he wants to be a cop, right? In the Willie Jack episode, you get her, but then you also get her dad and how he feels about sort of what is going on, because there's been a death, there's been a suicide that has really impacted their community over the last 6 months to a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't it finds so much depth for each and every one of these characters, and is not afraid to talk about what it means to be Native American in the US in 2021, and how older people in the community deal with that and how young kids think about it. And I don't know, it does so many things so well. It's really amazing. So yeah, that's Reservation Dogs. That's on,
and it's only 8 episodes, so you can just watch that in a weekend.
Oh yeah, you can watch that in an afternoon, right?
I was gonna say that, but I felt like I was trying to save my pride. So I'm glad you did it.
No, 4 hours? That's it's you kind of post up at 2:30, you're done by 6:30. You can still do something with your evening.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good to go.
And there's going to be a season 2.
And there is going to be a season 2. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really glad we made time to do that, because I watched the first couple of episodes and didn't really pay attention, and was I think I probably need to pay attention to this show. And so really, really glad we got to do that. Yeah. Our second one shot is a little game called Wordle. Do you want to describe Wordle for all the folks out there who haven't heard about it, Inch?
So it's you can do it on your computer, on your phone, whatever, and it's a 5-letter word that you have to guess what the word is. It's 5 letters long, and as you guess, you'll kind of get hints as all right, this letter is in there, but it's not in the right spot, or oh, this letter is in the right spot, good. And you can send it to people. So Joey sent it to me, and I now send it to Joey, my friend, and my boss. And it's just a fun little brain exercise. But it's also you can see when you share it how many, because you get 6 guesses, and you can see in how many guesses you get it. My best right now is 2 guesses.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was yesterday?
Yeah,
that was amazing. My best is still 3. And you can only play once a day. There's only one Wordle every day. Right. And everyone...
There is an app, though. Did you see what I sent you? That you can, it's the same thing. But honestly, I wouldn't want to play it more than once a day.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, right? It's did I get today's, right? And sort of that sort of, because I think if it loses, not importance, right? Because I still think if you were playing in the app, the guessing and the figuring out process would still be, that's still fun if you like word games. But I think that playing it once a day sort of just gives it a little bit of weight, right? And it's sort of
it's more gratifying when you get it.
Yeah, and I kind of like it, right? Because you'll send me, will play it before I get to it, right? So I see yesterday I saw that you got it in 2. And I went and played it, and it took me all 6 guesses, and I was damn, Angela got it today, and I really struggled, right? Whereas because there is just the one a day, I know that you and I have the same word, right? So we know that we're having the same experience.
Right, and it's ooh, what word did you... Yeah, when I got to, my boss was what word did you start with? And it was you're talking about it. And we were also talking about how sometimes I just put in random letters, and I'm really surprised when it turns out to be a word, because I don't know what it means.
Nice. Yeah, so... And it's just a website, right? The actual game isn't an app, so it's just a website. So you play it on your computer,
you can
your
send it
phone,
to your grandma,
your tablet. Yeah, it's I know it's very trendy right now, but there is something very sticky about it, right? In its simplicity and in its sort of, it's really easy to share. And again, you know that other person had that same experience of it because you're all doing the same word.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you just Google, I think it's just, is it just Wordle.com? Is that?
No, it's like a UK thing.
Is it? If you just Google Wordle, is it the first?
Powerlanguage.co.uk/Wordle /.
But if you Google Wordle, is it the first result?
Oh, yeah.
It is, yeah. If you Google...
But if you wanted like the exact link, it's HTTPS, the 2 dots on top of each other, / www.powerlanguage.co.uk.
Yes. There will be a link in the show notes too. But I've also like, there's all these like, I don't, do what you, if you're going to play it, like do what you want. But I've like resisted looking at like, there's all these websites, like what's the best words to play first. Right. And it's like,
oh yeah. Like, oh yes. Try like saucer first.
Yeah. I've resisted that a little bit because it's like, I want to sort of think it through on myself. Like, I don't want this to be like a strategy game. I want this to be fun. Right. So like, I guess I don't want to like, not even like competitive, but I just want it to be fun where it's like, can I figure this out on my own with my own like guesses and everything? But yeah, that's Wordle and Reservation Dogs, 2 very good things that you should do and watch.
Do it while watching it.
Do it while watching it.
Yeah.
Especially if you have Hulu and there's a lot of ads.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect, actually.
Perfect amount of time. But that brings us to the end of the show. Do you want to take us out, Ange?
Not particularly.
All right, I got this one.
I'm going to be real with you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Comicsly podcast. You can follow Angela on Goodreads. If you search Angela Glowacki, you can see what she's reading there.
It's not Mafia books.
It's not Mafia books.
And if it was, I wouldn't put them on Goodreads because I'm not going to.
It's a highly curated list of what Angela reads, but good recommendations on there. There's some books on there that we've read, Almond and The Tale for the Time Being. So if you like those, then maybe you'll find something else you like. You can follow me on Twitter at Joey Glowacki. That's JoeyGlowacky. Please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred podcast listening app. All reviews are greatly appreciated and help our show grow. You can also get in touch with us via email by sending your feedback or questions to podcast@comicsly.com. Or you can listen and give the show a thumbs up on YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can find that channel by searching Comicsly on YouTube or following the link in the show notes. You will also be able to find past streams from our Twitch channel there, along with other good videos if you're looking for that. The music you heard in this episode is a lo-fi remix of the song Concerning Hobbits by Patrick Moonbird. You can find their music on Spotify and SoundCloud. Links to their music is in the show notes. All right, that brings us to the end.
That was it. That was the pod.
That's the pod. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next week.